Stellenbosch Business School is hosting 2 seminars exploring the BRICS prospects for South Africa and the rest of the continent on how BRICS could be a big boost for the African continental free trade area. According to the business school, South Africa stands at the forefront of a momentous trade revolution that will shape the future of the continent, encouraging innovation and promoting the development of value chains, thereby spurring industrialization and job creation across the sectors. To discuss this further, we're joined by Professor Charles Adjasi, Head of Research and Acting Director at Stellenbosch Business School. A very good evening to you, Professor. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Perhaps let's just start with the premise of your study. Was it spurred on by the recent developments that we saw here in South Africa just a couple of weeks ago when BRICS welcomed new members?
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, so the idea of the potential that the BRICS has for South Africa and the African continent is something that has been, let me say, in the pipeline for a while. It's something that has been thought about for a while because of the potential that BRICS has, and also because of what South Africa, the roles that South Africa has played in BRICS after joining it, and then coming, fast forwarding that to a couple of weeks ago, like you said, the expansion of BRICS, and in particular the bringing of 2 additional African countries, which is Egypt and Ethiopia, in addition to the rest of the other countries, also makes this even more interesting in terms of the accessibility to the markets, and the fact that these countries and BRICS on the whole can help to foster that intra-Africa trade and intra-Africa business that we so much want to engineer. I must also add that the last couple of weeks, the deliberations in the last couple of weeks have also helped to bring the BRICS nations much closer with using South Africa as the lever or the pivot, bring the BRICS nations much closer to our African agenda that I said before, which is really bent on hinged on inclusive development and economic transformation of the continent.
So eliminating tariffs and, of course, streamlining exchange rates, that's always been one of the main objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area. But the issue has been asked time and time again around governance issues on this. What does your paper, your research have to say about this? And where does BRICS then come into the fray?
Right. So let me start with the issue about the government coming to the party, coming to the fore when it comes to tariff reduction that you spoke about. So yes, one of the major issues with tariff reduction is that when the government has been very dependent on tariff revenue, it becomes a little bit difficult to ask to ask for tariff reduction, because then it means that the government, the revenue that accrues to government is lost, and this would particularly affect countries that are very highly dependent on tariff revenue. But then, if you look at the research, and if you look at the impact, the modeling of if you like, the scenario analysis on the economic modeling of what it would look like if we had to remove those tariffs. Indeed, over longer term, the countries that are going to lose out from the revenue benefits of the tariffs now will actually be much better off, because there's expansion of economic activity, the value chains increase, there's employment, and you can get the tariffs that are lost from the revenue that is lost from the tariff side is gained from the economic activity that increases in the respective economies. And so it is imperative, of course, that governments are brought, especially governments of countries that could lose out in the shorter term, are brought to the table for the discussion around how to deal with the tariff reduction issues here. And there's been proposals also to have a graduated approach where some countries will have lower tariff reductions as opposed to other countries. These are all scenarios that are being looked at to try and mitigate some of these challenges. How does BRICS come in here? So BRICS, first of all, we've got big trading. BRICS, some of the BRICS countries are major trading partners already, and BRICS has got an idea of what we have always been looking out for, which is South-South cooperation or Global South cooperation on trade and development at or in a platform or in a pace or in a manner and standards which are acceptable to all, which are of mutual benefits to all. So this makes BRICS a much closer partner to us as the African continent to drive this idea of trade, first of all with these partners, but secondly because of the interest that BRICS or the advantages that the BRICS countries would also have from partnering with Africa. BRICS nations can also help. They can help to bring the much needed technology, skills, and then foreign capital for inclusive development. And in particular, I emphasize inclusive development because we have a situation where it's a mutual understanding of what is needed in terms of capital for development, one, and secondly, what is needed in terms of capital for infrastructure building, ensuring that our logistics is quite smooth and more efficient, because we need all of this for a harmonized intra-African trade. A harmonized intra-African trade and a heightened intra-African trade is also good for BRICS.
I want to talk about South Africa's role, particularly in BRICS and as far as the AfCFTA goes. Now, it's been said that Africa's historical focus on exporting primary goods to developed countries has led to vulnerabilities in demand. There are AGOA talks that are this week. So how does South Africa then balance some of these dynamics?
South Africa has got a very unique role here. So first of all, if you look at, so you mentioned the traditional export, pattern or the export strategy of most African countries, which is, raw materials, very little beneficiation. South Africa is one of the countries on the continent that has a lot more beneficiation, or if you like, it's a little bit more, it's more industrialized than other African countries. So there's a lot to learn from the South African story. But in addition, South Africa has already led, in intra-African trade, and also in helping to increase the pace of manufacturing, not just in South Africa, but across the rest of the continent, because there are new markets, there are huge markets beyond South African borders. So on that front, South Africa is already playing a key role in leading trade and processed or if you like manufactured exports across the country. Now, this particular role then makes South Africa a natural, if you like, a pivot or a natural key player in the BRICS, conversations we had before, and the forthcoming, discussions on AGOA, because AGOA is also, very much also interested in trying to promote the exports from Africa, but in a processed manner. Of course, the natural partner to use to drive this will be South Africa, because it's already been doing that on the continent. So that makes South Africa a major player, both within the AfCFTA, because of what it's already doing, and then within BRICS, again for the same reasons, and also AGOA.
Well, thank you so much for your time and insights, Professor Charles Adjasi. He is Head of Research as well as Acting Director at the Stellenbosch Business School.